Well, so my last video got cut off and I didn't even know my timer went off for my meatloaf. And I went inside to pull it out and I was talking and showing you my meatloaf, and I even showed my cat, but I didn't know the video stopped when the timer went off, I guess, and I hit the timer. So I've actually been recording myself talking for the last 10-15 minutes, and I was not recording any of it. So I guess this will be part 2. I was talking about the ice barrel because I went into the garage and had to make sure that the ice barrel was draining. I got the water coming out to, refill it with fresh water.
Lap 1, 21:14.
Nice. Because Jordan's going to come do a cold plunge when he gets home from work. And I was saying cold plunging for women is not always the best because it releases cortisol and is stress on the body. And so putting more stress on your body if you've already been dealing with a taxed nervous system, it kind of puts you over and does more harm than good. Everyone's different. I can't speak for everybody, but there have been some studies on this, and I always felt like the cold plunge was a lot more stress for me. It would make me feel worse the next day. It felt good the day I would do it, and maybe I stayed in too long sometimes. But the amount of shock to your system with the really cold water, if you're already under a lot of stress, isn't great, even though, the idea is that you're kind of training your mind and body to be more resilient. But my nervous system's already pretty taxed from years of chronic stress and high intensity training. So I'm trying to do more calming recovery things, like infrared sauna is good, and taking things slow, more walking like this. Excuse me. So yeah, less cold plunging for me. I know they say women are more sensitive to it just because of their hormones and cortisol. But for women, or anybody, doing the little ice bowl on your face first thing in the morning is supposed to be beneficial. And that can actually help your nervous system. I signed up for this Beat the Burnout program a while back to help with nervous system, stress, fatigue, all that recovery. And aside from walking and breathing techniques, the facial cold plunge in the morning was helpful. Just a bowl with water and a little bit of ice, and you kind of just dunk your face. I can't tell you why it works, but apparently it does. So that's another thing. If you want to do your own research, you can. I'm not citing the sources here. There's a bunch of programs out about it, and you can Google it, look into it, do your own trial and error if you want. But doing something like a facial cold plunge is obviously a lot simpler and a lot less stressful than dunking your whole body in a plunge. Andrew Huberman has a lot of podcasts about plunging. But I think a lot of the studies originally were done on men, which, are we surprised? I mean, we've been really only studying men's bodies for the longest time. We're finally, studying women's bodies, and what do you know? They're hugely different in how we react to things and recover from things and what's best for men versus women. So everybody obviously is a little different. You might have certain things that feel better or worse. I can't speak for everyone, but majority has shown that some of the high intensity cold plunging and stuff like that is not always as helpful for women. You could also get into the different temperatures and determine maybe a slightly warmer cold plunge at 55 or 50 degrees is obviously less stressful, and you could say better than one that's 35 degrees, right? Or staying in for 3 minutes versus 10. Anyway, yeah, it's always good to do your own research. I never like to tell people that something is sure or certain, because I don't know. I'm not the one studying it, doing the science and research. I just read from other people, reputable sources. I listen to podcasts and then do my own trial and error and pay attention to how my body and mind feels. And I guess that is my own science technically, but I'm not comparing with other people. You know what I mean? Oh God, why am I so out of breath talking and walking? My heart rate's at 105 going down, 104, because I just went over this little hill. Yeah, I can feel a difference though going uphill. Sheesh, and the wind is blowing right in my eyes. Anyway, speaking of nervous system stuff, I have been dialing back my training as of recent. I had some issues with my hormones there for quite some time, which I do think is a result of years of poor stress management, and we are working on that. Less high intensity things for stress, like Ice Barrel. I'm focusing more on like moving slow, infrared stuff, sauna, breathing techniques, walking, because I always had a tendency of doing everything fast and high intensity or as heavy as possible. And that's good sometimes, but too much of that without low intensity stuff will just put your body in overdrive. My central nervous system was just super fatigued. I could feel it. And then when the smallest thing would happen, I'd feel easily thrown off. And then when a big thing would happen, it was like catastrophic. I can't handle it. Like no resilience with my nervous system at all. Like I wouldn't bounce back very well. And then in the fall, I found out my testosterone was super low. And then my estrogen and progesterone would drop very low as well, especially right before my period. So I just kept going through these cycles of just feeling really run down, fatigued. I mean, awful fatigue. Like, cannot get through the day without taking a nap, even though I slept like 9 or 10 hours that night. And I eat well. I eat carbs. I eat, everything I need. And I was still exhausted, very emotionally on edge, could easily cry or get upset. So yeah, years of untreated really stress. So things I've been incorporating, I mentioned taking things slower and all those recovery things, but also going to therapy, journaling, which I need to get more consistent with, and specifically like gratitude journaling and stuff like that. Really need to like pencil it in, pun intended, but put it on my schedule to do it consistently. Keeping my sleep-wake cycle consistently, and I have been using a red light in the morning to help with that because it helps with circadian rhythm. Andrew Huberman talks about that as well if you want to look that up. But what else am I doing? God, my brain, it just leaves. The thought leaves so fast. I don't know. Basically trying to manage my stress and improve my hormones naturally. So I found out recently, God, I'm just listing off all the random things that I research and find out, but I found out that pomegranate juice actually helps increase testosterone while balancing estrogen and lowering cortisol, your stress hormone. So for me, trying to balance out my hormones naturally, I'm giving that a try. It's been a few days. I think it's actually helped already. Could be placebo. I've been doing pomegranate juice. I've been eating pomegranate. I have my red light therapy in the morning. I've dialed down my training, breathing techniques, sauna, better sleep, nutrition on point. I think it's making a difference. I'm going to get my levels checked again soon because in the fall, everything was super low. They said my testosterone was at like 12 and that most women my age are in the triple digits. I don't even know. I have no idea. I don't know if that was just free testosterone or what, but they were like, this is abnormally low. So somehow it feels worse now. So I'm really trying to just naturally get those numbers back up. And so I'll keep you guys posted on that and let you know like what I feel works and what doesn't. But like I said, I've dialed back the high intensity a little because I was doing CrossFit classes like 4 to 6 days a week, which we know is too much. If you're gonna go all in and push yourself on those workouts for every class, that's too much, especially for women. That's another one of those things they found out. Oh, women shouldn't be doing high intensity more than 1 day a week. And there I was, 5-6 days a week. You can still do classes by all means, but you have to scale it back sometimes. Use lighter weight, adjust it, take more rest. You can't be pushing yourself to the max on every freaking workout. But that's hard for me because with weightlifting, it's different because you're putting rest in between every set. You should be resting like 2 to 3 minutes if your goal is to build muscle. And I just follow like, what's on the program? What am I doing? I stick to it. So when I go to a CrossFit class and they have RX written on the board, that's what I try to do. But you can't always do that. And I don't need to RX every workout. I don't need to. You don't need to either. You got to listen to your body. I tell my clients this, and I'm great at telling them what to do. But then for myself, it's like, I got to go balls to the wall every time. But I don't. I cannot do that every time because I end up burnt out. We just did the CrossFit Open, and that was super high intensity. And I had to take like 4 days off afterwards because I felt like ass, like the most tired. But my grandfather passed away 3 weeks ago, almost 4 weeks already. So I've still been grieving too, so that kind of adds to the fatigue a lot. But I could tell that everything just kind of compounds. And I describe it as like your body is like a barrel. Picture it as a barrel, okay? Big empty barrel. And then each stressor is like this liquid that gets put in the barrel. So let's say work stress. Put it in the barrel. Finances. Maybe you're struggling with paying your bills or something, or you lose a job. That also goes in the same barrel. So the liquid's a little bit higher in the barrel. And then maybe there's some health concerns. Put that in the barrel. Relationship problems. Put it in the barrel. And then, you lose somebody you love, you're grieving. Obviously, that's a big one. Put that in the barrel. Now the liquid's almost to the top. And then let's say, I don't know, you're stuck in traffic on the way to work and there's a fender bender and you're super late and you're just irritated. That little bit of stress from driving to work now overflows the barrel. And it seems like, okay, I'm gonna try to calm down once I get to work. That lets a little bit of liquid out, but you're still like almost overflowing. And you probably stay there for a long ass time because trying to get all that liquid back down takes a lot of consistent work, not once a week, not a couple times a month. It's got to be like a consistent everyday thing, which is why it can be so difficult because it's hard for people to stay super consistent with that stuff. And if you're like me, if it's not exciting or high intense, then it's a lot harder to stick to it because like what's the drive, what's the motivation behind it, I'll drag myself to the gym and do an intense workout because it fucking feels good and I get the dopamine, which we love a dopamine release. But yeah, I gotta just pencil in the little day-to-day things, the self-care things, in order to get that liquid in the barrel to go down, to get the stress to go down, and then keep it down and manage it. And then something else maybe gets put in the barrel, and then now you're not overflowing when that happens. You know what I mean? My barrel's been at the brim. It's been at the brim probably since birth. And it's just one little thing and it's overflowing, and then I do a little bit to take it down, and then I'm right back up. And going in that same barrel is the stress from overdoing your training, from high intensity training too much, from doing like a long run too fast, too many times. I did that before. Not listening to my recommendation on run a 3-mile run at a 11:30 pace, but I'm like, dang, 11:30 feels slow as hell. I'm basically walking. So I end up doing a 10 pace or a 9 pace. And then what do you know? My barrel is overflowed. And then I feel like ass again. So you gotta listen to your body. This is why following a program is so helpful. And this is not just me trying to sell you on working with me. But I mean, if you want to, hit me up. But no, following a program is so helpful because the structure is there. You don't have to question it. And your coach that you're working with knows, all right, we want to make progress without fatiguing. So here's what we're going to do. Then you communicate and you know when to dial it back. And it takes out all the extra thinking. That's why I always do better on a program. And you pencil in. Oh, God, how many times am I going to say pencil in? You can sprinkle in your recovery stuff and your mental health stuff. When to walk, because it's not all just about burning fat and building muscle. In fact, if you're not doing all the extra stuff on the side, you probably won't be very successful at burning fat or building muscle. I have found that when my hormones are thrown off, I will immediately look less tone, as they say. I just look more pudgy, fluffy, And really nothing's changed that much. Like, my weight will be the same, but like those fluctuations in hormones, you can just see it. I don't want to make it sound like your hormones will just make you gain weight or not, but if your body's not running optimally, there's more stress, which disrupts sleep, and maybe you don't digest your food as well, and you're not getting the nutrients that you need, or your eating kind of falls off track because you're not feeling your best. There's a whole list of things, but taking care of yourself so that you can reach your goals is obviously essential, and it's much more than just working out and pushing yourself to the max. But the thing is, I feel like people just talk about pushing yourself to the max because people like to listen to that, right? It's more motivating and inspiring and gives people the little push they want. People don't like to hear, oh, well, you have to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, or make sure you're slowing down and taking time for yourself. Here's some breathing techniques you can do. People are like, boring. I don't want to do that. But it's essential. The same way that getting off Instagram and not watching the news is also essential. Like, you've probably heard it before, but if you're going to the gym, working out, doing all those things, but then you're coming home and you're filling your mind with shitty content and negativity, not really taking care of yourself. It all works together and it's all important. It's like a balancing act of all the things, the same way that balancing work with life, with family is all essential. You can throw spiritual in there, mental health, all those things need to be I don't want to say prioritized, because you kind of, I guess you can kind of prioritize all of them, but you got to focus on all of them and put effort into all of them. It's like, I feel like it's common to see somebody that really, really emphasizes prioritizing their career, which, like, cool. Do you make that money, get the bag? But if you do that for so long, you'll notice that person ends up like not having a thriving relationship, or maybe they end up going through a divorce, or they're not with their kids. And that's just an example. I'm not saying that's always the case, but you'll see those other areas start lacking, or maybe they're super into their career and making money, but then they gain a lot of weight because they're not putting time into meal prepping and eating right. They're grabbing food on the go and they're not exercising. So it really is essential to balance all those things that are important. And you might go through periods where, like, one starts to outweigh a little temporarily. If you're a student and you're trying to get your degree, maybe school is a little bit more the priority at the time, and maybe your training is only 3 days a week instead of 4 or 5, right? Maybe some people, they don't want to date while they're going through school because they can't focus on it and put the effort in. So it's normal for some things to take a seat on the back burner while you prioritize what's currently most important, but that shouldn't be a long-term thing. And I guess figuring out where you're at in your life to know what is the priority right now, and is it possible for me to balance all of these things. Anyway, before I keep rambling about who knows what, it's been 20 minutes and Jordan is calling me now, so I'm going to get on here with him and I will upload both of these now, part 1 and part 2, since I got cut off. And I'm about to hit 2 miles on my little walk here, so this was a good walk, and I'll do more videos like this. I'll try to organize it a little better so I know what the heck I'm going to be talking about, but today was just yapping and rambling. So thanks for tuning in if you're here, and I will catch you next time. Don't mind my super chapped...
Lap 2, 2059.
Nice. Don't mind my super chapped lips. It's kind of windy and I'm talking. My mouth is dry as hell. Okay, see ya.